When are we gonna start talking about her the same way we talk about Caitlin Clark? I mean, you look at her skills, you look at what she is special. When are we gonna start doing that? Because let me tell you something. This sister's got game. This sister is something special. She is spectacular. Now that Caitlin Clark is gone, we should be focusing on her even more so now. And just like I told you when Caitlin Clark was the golden goose, I said that's the golden goose. That didn't mean she was the best player in the world. It meant that she was pretty damn good and coming, okay? And the fans loved her. I'm saying the only question now about JuJu is, why is she not being shown more love?
Really, Stevie? Really? This is what $100 million gets me? This is the narrative that ESPN is paying $100 million for? Stephen A. Smith is no dummy. He knows exactly why the mainstream media is ignoring women's college basketball. He knows exactly why JuJu Watkins is not receiving mainstream attention and recognition. Ironically enough, JuJu Watkins is being ignored by the same woke media that claimed they were advocates for women's college basketball. My inside sources, they recently asked Nancy Armour from USA Today about JuJu Watkins. Hey, Granny Nancy, what do you think of JuJu Watkins? Who? Who in the hell is that? Is that one of the cast members on Real Housewives of Spokane? Stephen A. Smith knows why JuJu Watkins and the entire sport of women's college basketball is being ignored. We are coming up on the women's tournament. Well, KC, don't you mean March Madness? No, I mean the women's tournament. We are a full week into March, and women's college basketball, it has been completely ignored by the mainstream media. Why? Because there is a huge difference between being a star and being a draw. Yesterday afternoon, ESPN announced that they were extending the contract of Stephen A. Smith. Uncle KC was wrong. I thought Stephen A. would leave ESPN. I've been predicting it for years. I thought he would join the women and children on the lifeboat and jump off the sinking Titanic. But instead, Stephen A. is going down with the ship, and he's being paid handsomely to remain on board. The worldwide leader in woke, they gave him $100 million over the next 5 years. Now, I don't need the resident math expert here on the channel, Mina Kimes, to solve this complex equation for me. ESPN is paying Stephen A. Smith $20 million a year. $20 million to a guy that averages 400,000 viewers. $20 million for a reduced workload. Stephen A. will no longer appear on NBA Countdown, which is the worst pre- and post-game show on television. He'll be making sporadic appearances on SportsCenter, but for the most part, Stephen A. will be focused on First Take and his independent production company. Now, I'm sure others at ESPN, like Monica McDougal or Kendrick Perkins, I'm sure they are thinking, this is great! Stevie got $20 million! This raises the pay for the rest of us! Maybe ESPN will raise my minimum wage and I can finally make $20 an hour! I could be wrong. But I don't think we will ever see a contract like this again given to a homegrown star from ESPN, because ESPN no longer has the ability to create stars. It's not from lack of effort. They have tried to create new stars in the past. Problem is, the audience always rejects them. No one cares about Monica McDougal. No one cares about Mina Kimes or Molly Karam. From a financial perspective, this is a bad deal for ESPN. Rachel Maddow is making $25 million at MSNBC. She averages 1.5–2 million viewers. Stephen A. Smith is making $20 million. He's averaging 400,000. Financially, this is a horrible deal for ESPN. Kind of like paying $2 or $3 billion for the NBA was a horrible financial deal for ESPN. But there's a reason that ESPN overpaid Stephen A. Smith. Whether you love him or hate him, there's no denying the fact Stephen A. Smith is a draw. When Stephen A. speaks, people listen. He might not know what the hell he's talking about. He might talk about how great Troy Aikman was playing against the Eagles in Week 7 of the 2024 NFL season, but it doesn't change the fact that Stephen A. is a draw. JuJu Watkins. JuJu Watkins is a star. JuJu Watkins is a dynamic basketball player. I have no doubt that she will eventually dominate the WNBA because real basketball players, they easily dominate the pretenders in the dump. But as great as she is right now, there is a reason JuJu Watkins is being ignored by the mainstream. She might be a star, but she's not a draw. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel is in the description below. This morning on the second channel, talked about TNT thriving financially without the NBA. It appears that overpaying for the NBA is bad business. I explain why we could be reaching a breaking point in sports where leagues no longer have the leverage over the television networks. So if you haven't already, head over to the second channel and check it out. Headline at Awful Announcing. Sports media's lack of coverage of JuJu Watkins is inexplicable. According to Awful Announcing, it is inexplicable that women's college basketball is being ignored after Caitlin Clark's historic season. This doesn't make sense. Millions of people were watching last season. We have JuJu Watkins. We have Paige Buckner. These women are huge stars. How come America isn't watching? America fell in love with women's college basketball. No, America fell in love with Caitlin Clark. I told you guys 2 years ago, I told you again last year, women's college basketball is not a draw. The tournament can be a draw. People will tune in to watch the tournament, but they're not watching games in December. They're not watching games in January, February. One of the reasons they're not watching, it's because it's not that interesting. I know it sounds harsh. I'm sure lonely men will be offended and call me a meanie. But the truth is harsh, and the truth is, the country has never supported women's basketball. When LSU won the national title, the program lost millions of dollars. If you were to believe the media, Angel Reese, LSU, they were one of the most popular programs in the country. Yet for some reason, they couldn't monetize it. They couldn't convince people to part with their money to watch Angel Reese miss layups. I have been searching for women's college basketball ratings since November. Showbuzz Daily, they used to provide daily ratings reports. 2 years ago, site was shut down. Why? They no longer had access to the ratings. So I found another site, the U.S. Television Database. For a while, they were consistent, but since last summer, they have been unable to get ratings for anything outside of cable news. If you search for ratings for women's college basketball, sites like Sports Media Watch, they will provide ratings for a handful of games. JuJu drew 2 million on Fox. She drew 1 million viewers on ABC. This young woman is amazing! I know for a fact that JuJu Watkins has played more than 2 or 3 games on national television, but for some reason, ratings are unavailable for most of her games. I wonder why. Look, this is nothing against JuJu Watkins. From what I know about her, seems like a great young woman. Doesn't seem to be infected with the woke fungus. Hopefully that doesn't change once she is surrounded by the fungus in the WNBA. JuJu Watkins is a hell of a lot more likable than Angel Reese. She doesn't exploit herself on social media. She doesn't post bikini pics, then turn around and complain about being over-sexualized when lonely men are asking her for more. JuJu Watkins is a star in women's college basketball. Paige Buchers is a star in women's college basketball. But neither one of them are a draw. Neither one of these ladies have the drawing power of Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark, She is a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon. There is no explanation for her drawing power. There's no scientific formula that proves it. For some reason, people are drawn to Caitlin Clark. There's a lot of stars in the NBA. Klay Thompson was a star. Jimmy Butler's a star. Jalen Brunson, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jason Tatum, Giannis. All those guys are big stars. None of them are mainstream draws. There are very few draws in the NBA. LeBron, Steph Curry, maybe Anthony Edwards. I don't think Anthony Edwards has reached that level just yet. The only other mainstream draw in the league is Luka Doncic. And look, Luka wasn't really a mainstream draw in Dallas. He really didn't become a mainstream draw until Nico Harrison destroyed the franchise by trading him to the Lakers. It's the same thing in something like the WWE. I know they like to refer to all of their performers as superstars, but that's complete bullshit. Sure, they had a lot of stars in the 90s when I was watching. Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Chris Jericho, Triple H. But there were only a handful of guys that were mainstream draws, needle movers. Austin, Hogan, Rock. Those dudes were responsible for elevating the WWF into the mainstream, and they haven't been back since. The NBA has been looking for their next Michael Jordan since 1998. But KC, what about LeBron James? LeBron is a draw, there's no doubt about that, but he ain't Jordan. Jordan elevated the league. Jordan took the NBA international. LeBron came close to matching his drawing power in 2011, 2012, but over the last 5 years, LeBron James has completely tanked the NBA. But the point is, phenomenons like Caitlin Clark, they come along once in a generation, once in a lifetime. When they're gone, no one can replace them. It's why ESPN overpaid for Stephen A. Smith. He is one of one. They didn't think Shannon Sharpe, hey, it's me, Shay Shay. They didn't think Shannon Sharpe had the drawing power to replace him. They knew for a fact that the rest of the rotating panel on First Take couldn't replace Stephen A. So ESPN had to overpay him, and now they've got 5 years to either create a new draw or go out and buy one. It's going to be interesting to see the ratings for the women's tournament if they actually release them. I would hope they wouldn't hide them from us, but you just never know nowadays. Either way, it's going to be interesting to see because the ladies have absolutely no momentum going into the tournament. You can put JuJu Watkins in State Farm commercials. You can show highlights of Paige Buchers on SportsCenter, but that's not always enough to create mainstream interest. But give me your thoughts on this. Does JuJu Watkins have the charisma to become a draw? Who knows? Maybe she has her big moment in the tournament and she burst into the mainstream. So far, that hasn't happened. Will the women's tournament be able to match the ratings from the last 2 years? Or will ratings significantly decline? Let me know. Sound off in the comments below. Best way to contact me is through email, btlkc84@gmail.com. I'll see you guys later.